Hello, my name is Pam Sherratt and I'm the turfgrass specialist at The Ohio State University. The following presentation is provided by the Ohio Lawn Care Association and sponsored by Dow AgroSciences. Before we look at late season fertilization, we need to look at the seasonal growth pattern of our cool season grasses before we can really address what their nutrient needs are. Cool season grasses like bluegrass, ryegrass and fescue prefer to grow in fairly mild temperatures, so we typically see a growth spurt in spring and another in the fall. These grasses do not grow very well in the summer and may even go dormant if they do not get watered. As we can see from this chart, the leaf or shoot growth is at its greatest April to June, and then again September to mid-November. Root growth, the dotted line, follows the same general pattern, except that the roots continue to grow later into the fall. This is an important factor in late season fertilization. The key nutrient that all grasses need for healthy growth and recovery is nitrogen. Nitrogen constitutes around 4 to 5% of the turf leaf tissue and is required by the plant for most of the physiological processes. As we can see in this table, nitrogen is not only important for leaf growth and colour, but it is needed for all major growth responses, like root growth and stress tolerances. As a general rule of thumb, turf grasses need between 3 and 5 pounds of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet per growing season to maintain healthy growth. The majority of those applications should be made in late summer and fall. It isn't a good idea to apply a lot of nitrogen in the spring, since the grass is growing rapidly at this time and no homeowner wants to cut their grass 4 times a week. Rapid leaf growth in the spring also results in weaker plants and shorter roots. Applications made in the fall help to promote growth after the summer stress period and also enhance grass density and colour. The late season fertilization application is typically made in the late fall when the grass is still green but has stopped actively growing. Ideally, it would take place just after the last mowing of the season. In central Ohio, this is typically around Thanksgiving. It would be earlier in northern Ohio and later in southern Ohio. Do not confuse late season fertilization with dormant fertilization. A key with late season fertilization is to apply the nitrogen when the grass is still green. Late season fertilization is also not the same as a winterizer fertilization. Winterizers contain a 1-to-1 ratio of nitrogen to potassium, and they are touted to promote winter stress tolerance. Whether they do or not has yet to be proven by research. So to recap, late season fertilizers are nitrogen-based and applied in the late fall. The purpose of the late season fertilizer application is to stimulate rapid accumulation of carbohydrates, resulting in better root growth, shoot density and colour. Root, rhizome and stolon development is also enhanced, which is crucial for healthy stress-tolerant turf. In addition, late season fertilization has been shown to result in less disease and insect problems during the spring, and a healthier, less stressed turf at the start of the growing season. Furthermore, the late season fertilizer application will prolong fall colour by 4 to 6 weeks and significantly enhance green-up the following spring. Spring green-up from late season fertilization occurs without the surging growth from a traditional spring fertilizer, and lawns that are on the late season fertilizer program don't typically need to be fertilized again until mid-May to early June. Because the nitrogen in the late season fertilizer application needs to be taken up by the plant quickly, the nitrogen source should be quick release and not dependent upon soil temperature for release. This rules out many of the organic sources of nitrogen that are dependent upon soil temperatures for their release, and they would not be taken up and available as quickly as other sources. Typical quick-release sources of nitrogen for the late season application would include ammonium nitrate, ammonium sulfate and urea. Controlled release nitrogen sources such as sulfur-coated urea and IBDU are also moderately effective, since their release is dependent upon soil moisture and not soil temperature. The application rate for late season fertilizer is relatively high, at 1 to 1.5 pounds of nitrogen per 1,000 square feet. These rates have been well established by research as the best rate to get all the benefits from the late season application. While there are numerous benefits to applying late season fertilization, there are a couple of issues to consider. Firstly, because the nitrogen source is quick release and applied at a relatively high rate, it may have the potential to leach if applied to a sandy, free-draining soil. This is especially important if the turf is next to a pond or a stream or a watershed location. Fortunately, most soils in Ohio are finer textured loams that do not leach readily, so this shouldn't be a problem. Secondly, there is some suggestion that late season fertilization may promote snow mold disease, but this is more likely to occur if there are heavy applications of nitrogen made in the early fall, causing succulent and weak leaf growth. There is no evidence to suggest that snow mold diseases are enhanced by the late season fertilizer. In summary, late season fertilizers are applied after the last mowing of the season, when top growth has stopped but the grass is still green. The source of nitrogen should be quick release and applied at 1 to 1.5 pounds per 1,000 square feet. The benefits include extended fall color, quick spring green up without the spring flush of growth, and a healthier turf going into the summer stress period.